Have you ever been scrolling through your feed and just get that sinking feeling in your stomach? That feeling that you're falling behind? You're definitely not alone. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the myth of online wealth and show you exactly why that feeling is just a very, very carefully crafted illusion.
You know the feeling, right? You see the Lambos, the villas in Bali, that friend from high school who just bought another property, and it's almost impossible not to feel that little pang of anxiety. You start wondering, what am I doing wrong? But what if? What if you're not doing anything wrong at all? What if the game you're comparing yourself to is totally rigged? That's the big idea we're diving into today.
And that's the core message from entrepreneur Iman Gaji, who's been deep in the online business world for over a decade. He argues that what we're all seeing online isn't the full story, not even close. What you're feeling isn't failure, it's just a massive gap in perception. And we are about to break that down piece by piece.
So here's the game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key ideas that expose the truth about online wealth. We'll kick things off with the online wealth illusion itself. Then we'll redefine what wealth actually means. After that, we'll uncover the hidden price tag of success, see how your location is a secret financial superpower, and finally, understand why your big break has its own season.
First up, the online wealth illusion. I mean, think about it. That guy flexing his supercar in his YouTube ad. Yeah, he probably rented it for $1,000 a day. That entrepreneur posing in some sprawling mansion, it's almost certainly an Airbnb they booked for 48 hours just to shoot content. So much of this online world is a house of cards, built on rentals, leases, and a whole lot of debt.
And the scale of this illusion, it's just staggering, especially when you look at cars. Our source points out that for those high-end luxury cars, the ones over $100,000, a whopping 90%
Are not actually owned by the person driving them. They're leased, they're financed. That $500,000 supercar isn't a massive pile of cash. Nope, it's a monthly payment that more often than not is stretching that person to their absolute financial limit.
And hey, don't just take our word for it. This quote comes from a former luxury car salesman who saw it all firsthand. He said people would come in, already in debt on their trade-in, put down almost no cash, and just get completely buried by payments, all to keep up an appearance.
This whole trend has created a massive industry. The luxury car rental market was already at $30 billion in 2022, and it's on track to double to $60 billion by 2029. And you want to know the craziest part? The main reason for this boom isn't tourism or business travel, it's people renting these cars specifically for social media content, to build that fake image of wealth.
And this gets to a really important difference, being rich versus being wealthy. See, being rich is all about playing offense. It's about spending, flexing, buying all the toys. But being wealthy, that's about playing defense. It's about building a financial fortress with real assets, stocks, businesses, real estate, so that you and your family are secure no matter what happens. That's the real endgame. Building that fortress brings us to our second big idea. What if I told you that someone making $8,000 a month could actually be wealthier than someone pulling in $100,000 a month? I know, it sounds nuts, but it all boils down to one simple, powerful word: freedom.
Let's just compare 2 different lives here. You've got the person making $100K a month who's a prisoner to their own business. They're glued to their phone 24/7, they're always missing family dinners, and they're drowning in stress. It's a golden cage. Now compare that to the person making a solid $8K a month, but with total control. They design their day, they travel when they want, and they never miss the stuff that really matters. So who's the truly wealthy one here? Because the ultimate luxury, it isn't a fancy watch or a fast car. It's autonomy. It's the freedom to control your time, to decide where you want to be, and to make choices because you want to, not because you have to. That is the real definition of being wealthy.
So, what does it actually take to get that kind of success? Well, that leads us right into our third point: the hidden price. You see the highlight reel on Instagram, but you almost never see the real price tag attached to it. And the source really breaks down what that cost looks like. We are talking about 3 to 5 years of saying no to pretty much everything: vacations, nights out with friends, sometimes even relationships. It often means 18-hour days, 7 days a week. It means your health takes a backseat. You lose touch with people you care about. And you're carrying this constant weight of knowing other people's paychecks depend on you. That is the real price of those extraordinary results. So the real question isn't, how do I get that life? It's, am I actually willing to pay that price? And you know what? There is no right answer here. If your definition of success is building an empire on 16-hour days, that's awesome. But if it's making $4 grand a month so you can go surfing whenever you want, that is just as valid. Success is about being true to what you want.
Okay, this brings us to number 4, and honestly, this one is a total game changer. Geography. You simply cannot compare your financial progress to someone living in a totally different part of the world. It's like comparing a fish to a bird. It just doesn't make sense.
Just look at the hard numbers. Let's say you're making a $200,000 salary. In a place like Manhattan, after taxes and the insane cost of living, you're probably sharing a tiny apartment and maybe saving less than $3 grand a month. Now, take that exact same salary to Cape Town, South Africa. You could be living in a luxury house with an ocean view, have a car, help around the house, and still save over $6,000 a month. Same income, but two completely different universes.
So the next time you see someone online living this incredible life, the first question you should ask is, where do they live? Because $10,000 a month in a place like Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe feels more like $30,000 a month in a big city in the West. It's a massive variable, and you can't ignore it when you're measuring your own progress. And that brings us to our 5th and final idea, and it might be the most important one of all. It's called the rainfall principle. The idea is simple. Success almost never happens in a nice, steady, upward line. Instead, it comes in huge, sudden bursts that usually follow long, quiet periods where it feels like absolutely nothing is happening. First, you have what's called the drought. This is the grind. This is you, day in and day out, putting in the work, learning new skills, building systems, just being consistent. But the results are nowhere to be seen. You're planting all these seeds, but they're growing under the ground where you can't see them. And this is where most people give up. But then the downpour hits. This is that moment when all of that invisible work suddenly explodes into results. The source talks about these moments where, in like 90 days, income will just 5x or even 10x. And then it stays there. This is the part that everyone else sees and calls overnight success. See, here's the thing. You can't control when it's going to rain. You can't force your season of success to arrive. Your only job is to keep working through the drought, to build the skills, the network, the systems, to build the buckets and reservoirs so that when that downpour finally comes, you're ready to capture every single drop. So let's just quickly recap the 5 big ideas here. First, so much of what you see online is just an illusion. Second, chase true wealth, which is freedom, not just a big bank account. Third, be brutally honest about the hidden price of success and define it for yourself. Fourth, never forget that your geography is a financial superpower. And finally, trust the process. Keep building during your drought because your downpour is coming. And that all leads to one final thought for you to take away. Now that you've seen behind the curtain, now that you know the reality behind the illusion, the real question is this. Are you actually willing to pay the full, unglamorous, difficult price for the life you see someone else living online? Or are you going to use this knowledge to start designing a life that is truly, authentically, and successfully your own?